Hello. How's everybody doing today? Brother John Stewart on behalf of Lost Sheep Ministries, here to take y'all on another little walk with the word for the day. So today I got a lesson to bring you. Actually, it's a couple of different kind of lessons. So tonight's video gonna be in a little bit of a different structure than what I'm used to, than you may be used to. So I told y'all I'm in Proverbs, my favorite book of the Bible, and it has way too much in there. It's so many fire verses that be in these chapters that it's so hard to pick just one. So what I'm gonna do tonight, I picked like 8 of the ones from the 3 different chapters that I read, and I'm gonna try to do just a little bit of something on each one. So it's 8 of them I want to give y'all, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it so I have time to get them all in before the video ends. So number 1, the first one I'm gonna give y'all is from Proverbs chapter 14, verse 12. And in 14:12 it says this. It says, there is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are ways of death. See, every day you wake up, you have to choose which commands or which standards you're going to follow. Are you going to follow the commands and standards of God, or are you going to follow the commands and standards of man? And based on which one you choose, it determines which path you're going to go down and which path you're going to take, and ultimately what your end is going to look like. Now, if you're going to follow man's standards and man's laws, then guess what? It's okay to murder children. You know what I'm saying? It's okay for a man to marry a man or a woman to marry a woman. It's okay for a man to say he done became a woman and start wearing things that pertain to women, or vice versa. It's okay for a woman to say she done became a man and start wearing things that pertain to a man. Because according to man's law, these are perfectly fine to do because men have made it perfectly legal to do so. So it seems right in his eyes. But the law of God says it's an abomination and it leads to death. So though it's perfectly legal to do these things, if you go down that path, you just make sure you need to know that there's death waiting for you at the end. So make sure you choose wisely. So number two is going to come to you out of chapter 14, verse 23. It says, in all labor there is profit, but the talk of lips tendeth only to penury. Oh, I love this verse, y'all, because this is basically the Bible's way of saying, don't talk about it, be about it. You know what I'm saying? I've met so many people over the years. You'll talk to them and they'll spout off all kind of big dreams and all kind of aspirations of things they're going to do. But then the moment I ask them, like, okay, what's your action plan that you got in place to make it happen? They look at you, there's a fly going to try to get in my ear. You know what I'm saying? The moment I ask them what action plans they have to make it happen, they look at me like a deer in the headlights. You know what I'm saying? And you got to understand something. Having a dream is good. I'm not saying don't dream, but if you have no action plan to put in the work to make the dream come true, then what you really have is a nightmare. Because that's how you end up broke, having a dream, but no plan to put in the work to make that dream come true. Number 3 coming to you out of chapter 15, verse 16. It says, better is little with fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble therewith. Oh, that is deep. That is deep. Because the world has convinced us that the more stuff we have, the happier we'll be. You know, the world has convinced us of that. But Biggie said it the best way that can be possibly said. More money, more problems. I mean, think about it. Look at how many celebrities that have all this money and fame and stuff, and they still end up crashing out. They're always in and out of rehab. You know what I'm saying? They're always dealing with some kind of drug addiction or substance abuse or something like that. And look at how many of them end up killing themselves. You know what I'm saying? Why is that the case when they got all this money and fame? You know what I'm saying? Because they got all the money and fame, but they don't have happiness and joy. Because those things are found in a close relationship with Jesus Christ. So I'd rather be broke with the Lord than to have it all and still end up having nothing. Number 4, that's going to come to you from chapter 15, verse 17. It says this is a little bit of a different sentiment, but kind of says a little bit of the same thing. In chapter 15, verse 17, it says, better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stalled ox and hatred therewith. In other words, it's better to be eating a cup of ramen noodles with people that you love than to be eating steak with people that you hate. That's basically what they're saying. That's the Bible way of saying that. You know, sometimes we are so desperate for attention or to be in certain groups that we will put ourselves in uncomfortable positions just to belong. You know what I'm saying? I remember back in the day, I used to do the same thing. I wasted so much time and gave up so much of my peace trying to be in places that I really didn't need to be in. I try to be, something my grandma always taught me. She said, never be somewhere where you're not wanted. He said, if you know somebody don't want you there, you don't force your way in there. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I got away from doing, because now I value my peace and I value my time. You know what I'm saying? I would advise you to do the same thing, because this is something you got to understand. You don't have much of either one of them as you think you do, because both of those are not renewable resources. And once they're gone, and it ain't no getting it back. Number 5 is going to come to you out of chapter 16, verse 2. It says this: all the ways of men are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord weigheth the spirits. See, it's a little bit different from the one I just read a second ago, because it's dealing with more of a spiritual thing. Because we as humans have this bad habit of comparing ourselves to others. Oh, well, I know I'm a good person. I know I ain't bad. I ain't doing half the stuff that Diddy did. You know what I'm saying? So I know I'm a good person. You know, and that's what we do. We compare ourselves to others, when in reality we should be comparing ourselves to Jesus. He's the ultimate standard. You know what I'm saying? There was one time Jesus gave this parable of this tax collector and this Pharisee. So they was both in the temple praying, and the tax collector, he said they was the scum of the earth back then. So it says that he was so ashamed of what he had done that he didn't even lift his eyes up to look to heaven toward God. He just smoked. He said he smote his breast, so he just beat his chest, and he was like, Lord, please forgive me, a sinner. Because he recognized, he was humbling himself. He recognized what he was doing. But the Pharisee was standing up there all proud and arrogant and was praying and pointing over the tax collector, said, man, thank you, Lord, for not making me like him. You know what I'm saying? And if you look at the story, Jesus said when he left, he said, which one of those men you think left justified? And he said the tax collector is the one that left justified. See, that Pharisee was comparing himself, while he was judging that man's flesh and comparing himself to the other man, Jesus was judging the Pharisee and judging his spirit. You know what I'm saying? So stop comparing yourself to other men, because Jesus is the standard, and he will judge your spirit by himself when you stand before him. Number 6 is going to come to you out of chapter 16, verse 4. He says this: the Lord hath made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. The first thing I thought about when I read that was Romans 8:28, which is my favorite verse out the Bible. Because it says that we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. So you see, everything is a part of God's will. The good, the bad, and the ugly. We always praise God for the good, but we got to remember he's in charge of the bad and the ugly as well. Matter of fact, I talked in my video I did yesterday about a song I just released called God's Will. I just released it a couple of weeks ago. And it says basically the exact same thing that this verse is saying. Matter of fact, the chorus goes like this. It says, God's will, it might be just to rob and kill. God's will, it might be just to keep it real. God's will, don't matter if you're on bottom or top. You're going to do God's will whether you like it or not. See, that's exactly what this verse is saying. It's all a part of God's will. So if y'all interested in that song, you know what I'm saying, I got it. It's on all the streaming platforms. Just go search Big Whop. That's BIGWHOP. And the name of the song is God's Will. And y'all check it out. But be warned, the lyrics are explicit, because I did write that song the day before the Lord called me to preach. You know what I'm saying? Number 7. It's going to come to you from chapter 16, verse 7. It says, when a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. Ooh, wait. That's some God. That's a hard line right there. You know what I'm saying? It reminds me of Psalm 23 when David said, thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. That's just goodness of God right there. That's just God showing off. And I'm going to tell you something, I can attest to that being true. And number 8, last one, is coming from chapter 16, verse 31. It says, the hoary head is a crown of glory if it be found in the way of righteousness. And a hoary head means gray hairs. You know, and that one touches my heart right there, because I have so many people that I grew up with that wish they could have gray hair, but they can't because they passed away because of where we came from. So you won't see me covered up my gray hairs. I welcome them, because to me it's a gift from God that I live long enough to have them. And that has been your little walk with the word for the day. I pray these are blessing y'all. They are. Make sure you like, tag, share, comment, repost, save, and share. Do all that stuff to help me out. Make sure you give me a follow so you can follow me as I follow Christ. Catch my full sermons Facebook Live Monday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then I post them on my Facebook page and my YouTube page. Find out my social media on lostsheepministry.com. If you're not 100% sure about your salvation, reach out to me. I love y'all.